Metro 2035, Dmitry Glukhovsky. Chapter 6, 8 meters. "This is a one-way road here," the commander of the border post told them in farewell, picking at a ripe, juicy pimple on his neck with his fingernail. And then they started wondering where they'd ended up. Mendeleev station turned out to be dimly lit, misty with steam and sopping wet. The steps of the passage from next door Novoslobodskaya ran down not onto granite flooring but into a lake. People here lived up to their ankles in freezing cold brown water. Artyom unbuttoned his bundle. His waders were in it. He hung the automatic on himself at the same time. Homer was clad in rubber too. Easy to see he was an experienced traveler. "I didn't know it had sprung a leak," Lyoka muttered. Lying here and there in the water were frames cobbled together out of rotten wood, which lifted a person up a little bit above the bottom. They were scattered about haphazardly, and no one made any effort to knock them together into an island or a road. Pallets. Homer recognized them as he dunked himself into the cold murk in order to reach a wooden platform. They used to use them in trucks before. The whole area around Moscow was covered in advertising hoardings. Pallets bought, pallets for sale, an entire black market in these pallets. Now just think about it. What damn good did those pallets do anyone? It turns out they were buying them up for the flood. But even the pallets had long ago become soaked and sunk down a few centimeters. It was only possible to see them through the mud from very close up and only looking straight down at your feet. From the side, it really did look as if everything here was a single, uninterrupted, turbid, biblical sea. "They walk miraculously here, straight across the water," Homer chuckled, looking at the local people paddling along. The broker appreciated the sight, too. "Like it's flooded in shit." The pupils of their eyes soon forgot how brightly Hansa had shone, and the meager local light became more than enough for them. Oil burned in little bowls, scattered around with whoever happened to have it, sometimes behind screens of plastic bags from shops, with colors that were faded, but not completely. "Kind of like Chinese paper lanterns," Homer pointed out. "Beautiful, huh?" It looked different to Artyom. In the archways, which at first seemed solid black, they discovered the tracks, but not ordinary tracks like at other stations. At Mendeleev, no border existed between the platform and the tracks. The murky water made everything look level. You had to guess where you could still stand and where you would lose your footing and swallow a bitter mouthful. But the main question was, how to move on from here? The exit to the surface was collapsed, sealed off. The pedestrian passage was cut off. The tunnel was flooded neck-high with cold and dirty water, and it was probably radioactive, too. Try bathing in that. Compulsive cramp, a shorted-out torch, and you'd just loiter there, face down, like a float log, until you filled up your lungs. Locals sat along the invisible tracks, scratching themselves, trawling creatures better not thought about out of the depths with nets of some kind, and immediately devouring them raw. "You lured my worm away! Give back my worm, you bastard!" One fisherman grabbed another by his disheveled locks. They didn't have any boats or any rafts. They couldn't get away from Mendeleev, and they weren't even planning to. But what could Artyom and Homer do? "Why is everything flooded? Is it lower than Novoslobodskaya, then?" Artyom asked out loud. 8 meters deeper." Homer extracted the information from his memory. So the water from there all flows here. The moment they moved a little farther away from the steps of the passage, their legs were hung all over with skinny children. They didn't dare to meddle with the Hansa cordon. Somehow they'd been scared off from there. "Mister, a bullet! Mister, a bullet! Mister, a bullet!" Skinny, but wiry. Uh-oh. You catch someone's little hand in your pocket. Slippery, quick, agile. Seems like you've just caught it, and there's nothing. And which of the little imps it was, you can't tell. Underground rivers flowed all around the metro, scraped at the concrete, asking to be let into the deep stations. Those who could bailed the water out. They reinforced the walls, pumped out the slurry, dried out the damp. Those who couldn't drowned in silence. At Mendeleev, the people were too lazy either to scoop or to drown. They just carried on in temporary fashion, any old way they could. Stole scaffolding pipes from somewhere, partitioned off the hall with them, screwed jungles together out of them, scrambled higher up to the ceiling, and hung there on those metal lianas. The more bashful ones wound plastic bags around their nests so no one could gawk into their life from the outside. The simpler ones did their business loud and clear in front of everyone, straight from the upper tiers into the water. And that was fine. Formerly the hall of Mendeleev Station, solemn and restrained, in white marble with spacious rounded archways, was suitable, for instance, for a palace of weddings. But avalanches of mud had sluiced the marble slabs off the walls, short-circuited the electricity, extinguished the artfully twisted chandeliers, and transformed the people into amphibians. It was unlikely that anyone here still married. They simply clambered up a bit higher in order not to get their backsides wet, and mated in casual haste. Those who weren't trying to catch worms sat on their bunk tiers apathetically and dejectedly. They gaped into the darkness, babbled gibberish, and giggled brainlessly. Apparently there wasn't anything else to do here. "So what's for chow, like?" Lyoka repeated in bewilderment, scrambling from wet to dry, brushing off the little scroungers and looking mournfully at his boots. His persistence set Artyom's stomach rumbling too. They should have eaten at the Prospect. They had been roasting pork kebabs there, and they could have tipped a few braised mushrooms out into a bowl. But here, "A bullet, mister." Artyom wrapped his arms more tightly round his bundle and shooed the small fry away. Someone's little paw slithered craftily into his pocket again. It found something and twitched, but this time around Artyom was on the alert. The thief he caught was a little girl, about 6 years old, hair tangled, every second tooth missing. "That's it now, you little louse! Give it back! What have you got there?" He unfolded one finger after another, trying to be angry. The girl seemed to have taken fright, but she tried to be cheeky. She offered to kiss Artyom if he let her go. The thing in her hand was a mushroom. How could a mushroom have got into Artyom's pocket? A raw mushroom from a cultivation plot. What kind of nonsense was this? "Ah, come on, give us the mushroom, tight bastard, are yer?" the little girl squealed. He guessed. Anya put it there. She had slipped him the mushroom in farewell. "This is you, Artyom. This is who you are and your essential nature, and remember about that in your heroic wanderings. Remember about yourself, and remember about me." "I won't give you it," Artyom said firmly, squeezing the childish hand harder than he had intended. That hurts, you monster," she screeched. Artyom let go of the fingers and released the wolf cub. "Stop! Wait!" She was about to swing at him from a distance with some kind of iron bar, but she froze, agreed to hold on for a moment. She still trusted people a little bit then. "Here," he held out 2 cartridges to her. "Throw 'em," the little girl ordered Artyom. "You monster, I won't come near you." Well, maybe only a tiny little bit. "How can we get out of here? To Tsvetnoy Boulevard?" "No way!" She blew her nose in her hand. "If they want, they'll come and get you." "Who?" "Them as wants to." Artyom tossed one cartridge into her palm, then the other. She caught the first, but the second plunged into the murk, and 3 little squirts immediately reached into the mire after it. The little girl smashed her heel into one's nose and another's ear. Jarov, it's mine!" But someone else had already gotten lucky. She didn't start crying in her frustration. She told the lucky devil cold-bloodedly, "Right, you son of a bitch, I'll get you anyway." "Listen, girlie," Lyoka called to her. "Has anyone here got any kind of chow? Something I won't get poisoned on? Take me there and I'll toss you another bullet." She stared at him dubiously, then sniffed. "Want an egg?" "A chicken egg?" "Nah, don't be daft. Of course a chicken egg. At the other end of the village, this guy's got one." Lyoka was delighted, and Artyom also suddenly believed in this egg. Boiled, with a white like a human eye, and a yolk like the sun in children's drawings, fresh and soft. And he was suddenly desperate for an egg like that, or better still, 3 fried eggs with round yolks, all at once, fried in greasy pork fat. They didn't keep chickens at exhibition, and the last time he had tried fried eggs was in Polis, more than a year ago, when the blaze between him and Anya was only just starting to kindle. Artyom put the mushroom greeting away in his inside pocket. "I'm in," he told Lyoka. "They're going to eat the egg," the little girl proclaimed. This news drove the small fry into a fervor. Everyone who had been trying to cadge a cartridge from Artyom put his dreams on hold and stopped trying to extort a free handout. Wide-eyed and mute, they clustered around the outsiders. The entire delegation had to jump from pallet to pallet like a brood of chicks to the far end of the platform, to the chicken coop that was hidden there. The children clambered after them over the scaffolding and ran, overtaking them along the upper tiers, sometimes falling into the swamp with a squeal. The semi-slumbering figures on the bunks watched them go sluggishly and apathetically, feebly trying to untangle their muddled thoughts. "What say we go down the Solyanka Club today? I read on a poster some shit-cool Swedish guy has come over. Electronic vibes. It's your soul he's come for. They're all faggots up there in Sweden. They said so yesterday on the telly." "They're zonked on worms," the girl explained as she walked along. Left to its own devices, a corpse lay, bloating on one of the pallets. Artyom glanced as a rat, holding its little face up high, swam towards it to feed, and he thought out loud, "The difference is only 8 meters, and it's like we've descended into hell." "Don't shit yourself," Lyoka encouraged him. "That means even in hell our lads are there, and they haven't forgotten Russian. Great stuff." They hopped and skipped all the way to the other end of this cursed little village, right into the dead end. "There," said the girl, spitting. "Here he is. Let's have my bullet." "Hey, missus!" the broker shouted upwards. "They say you deal in eggs?" "That's right enough!" A matted beard dangled down from above. "Gimme the bullet! Gimme the bullet! Monster!" The little girl started getting worked up. Lyoka sighed bitterly and grudgingly, but he settled up with their guide. From the bunks around them, this was watched enviously. "How much?" "2, the beard demanded. 2 bullets. I could do with a couple and another. Another 3 for my comrades here. You've got the deal of the century shaping up here, brother." Up above, there was shuffling and grunting. A minute later, a little man appeared in front of the visitors, wearing a jacket over his naked body. Private parts covered with a skirt made out of a broad plastic bag, slit from below, with the half-effaced inscription "Oucha," a disheveled beard littered with garbage, eyes blazing like burning fat. In one hand, the little man confidently carried, like the Tsar's orb, a symbol of power, a hen's egg smeared with manure. In the other, he held gently but securely an emaciated chicken with an oppressed air. "Oleg!" The bearded man introduced himself with dignity. "And is there any discount, Olejek?" The broker jangled his bag. "Everything has its price," Oleg said firmly. "An egg costs 2 cartridges." "All right, damn you anyway, give it here. Is it boiled? And another 4. Here you are. 1, 2, 5, 10. Don't you do that." Oleg shook his head. "Don't do what?" "There's only 1 egg. Give me 2 bullets. I don't want anything extra." "What do you mean, 1? Artyom was flummoxed. "There's 1 for the whole station, today. Take it before the others buy it, and it's raw. There's nothing to boil it on here. And how do I eat it?" Lyoka scowled. "Drink it, that's how. Tap it here and drink." Oleg showed him how. "But money up front." "All right, here's your cartridges. I'm afraid of raw eggs. I was flat on my back for a month once. Almost kicked the bucket. I'll boil it somewhere myself." "Nah." Oleg didn't let the egg out of his hands and didn't take the cartridges. "Drink it here, in front of me, or I won't sell it." "And why's that then?" The broker was astonished. "I'll tell you why. Ryaba needs calcium. What do you reckon she's supposed to produce a new shell out of?" The little wolf girl was standing there close by, observing, picking up crumbs of wisdom. Others clambered out of the semi-darkness, preparing for something. Not just children. Grown-ups who lived nearby moved closer too. "You what?" Lyoka asked. "The shell consists of calcium. Did you go to school? To lay a new egg, she needs calcium. Where am I going to get that here? So get it down, you, and give me back the shell. She'll peck it up, and tomorrow you can come back for the second one." "And 2 cartridges for that?" "Everything has its price." Oleg was adamant. "I'm not ripping people off. I'll buy mushrooms for Ryaba with 1 cartridge and some for myself with the other. For a day, and tomorrow a new egg. It's all calculated. It all works. Like a Swiss watch. If you don't want to, I'll flog it to the Sonderkommando. They appreciate eggnog all right. Well, will you take it?" "Flog it to who?" asked Homer. "Give that eggnog of yours here," Lyoka muttered. "Just you break the shell carefully so it goes inside." "Don't teach your grandmother." Tap. "A brilliant break," someone whispered respectfully in the crowd that had gathered around. "Tastes good, eh?" a little boy with a swollen belly asked enviously. "Now don't you drink it so fast. Stretch it out, really feel it." Lyoka was advised by a woman who was barely distinguishable from a man. The yolk started coming already, who can see? He does it like he guzzles eggs every day. Lyoka wasn't bothered by his fans. He didn't notice them. And you say boil it. An egg's good raw. The white's like liquid glass. The human soul probably looks the same as that, said Oleg, scratching in his beard. Listen, pal, Artyom said to him. How do we get out of here? Where to? What for? What comes after this, in the Tsvetnoy Boulevard direction? What's there to catch there? Nothing, Olejek declared categorically. Look here, let's say, what if... The broker started pondering loudly, relishing the taste of his smeared egg. What say you go to collect worms, and every day you put aside 1 egg, and then you sell 20 all at once to Hansa, and on the earnings you buy yourself a second chicken. Then you'll stop just covering your costs, won't you? In a month you'll be making profit, eh? And feed her on worms? A chicken's a delicate beast. She'll kick the bucket from worms. Don't you be the damned wise guy with me. Well, what about waiting for chicks? What if I lent you bullets for a cock? Lyoka toyed with his remaining cartridges, jingling them. Or even put up that cock for 50% in our future joint stock company, eh? At this point, the little wolf girl, who had been watching all this without a break, couldn't bear the tedium of the honest life any longer. She darted forward, ducked down, and struck the broker's hand from below. The pointed brass cylinders shot up in the air and fell between the boards of the pallet, through the foul muck, and onto the bottom. The egg-eating fans became flustered. Why, you little shit, the broker howled. I'll break your lousy fucking neck. Come on, back off, all of you. There's your loan for you, Olejek exclaimed in delight. Sell myself into slavery. What for? Ah, go to hell. Lyoka went down on his knees and started raking through the murk in the cold water, trying to ferret out his sunken cartridges. He held the egg that he hadn't finished drinking up high in his free hand. The little girl clambered into some unassailable spot, hunkered down among the tattered plastic bags, and probably prayed there to her gutter snipe's god not to let the broker retrieve all the bullets from the bottom. The others, keeping Artyom's automatic in mind, were afraid to go asking for trouble. Money doesn't bring happiness, Oleg proclaimed. A man doesn't need much. What's it to me, 1 egg or 10? One's exactly enough for me. And 10 of them could give you a twisted bowel. I've always lived this way, and I'll carry on like this. But at this point, the dastardly god of the down and outs took note of the little girl's whisper, tore a hair out of his matted beard, uttered some mumbo-jumbo, and instead of a cartridge, the broker Lyoka caught a shard of a bottle with his raking digits. He pulled it out, a cut like an infant's open mouth, puking up black blood. Bastards! Bastards, the whole lot of you! Lyoka actually shed tears in his fury, crumpled up the cursed egg, and flung it into the darkness. The people were stunned into silence. You rat! You stinking reptile! What have you done? Olejek was totally stupefied at how quickly and cruelly the shell crunched, and how instantly it sank. You rat! You rotten lousy snake! You swine! Together with Ryaba, he stepped into the sharp water with his bare feet to look for where the shell had disappeared. There, he thought he saw it glowing white. But a hungry rat reached it first, grabbed it, and then disappeared, trilling as it dragging the shell off to somewhere in its own circle of hell. Olejek was desolated by that. He sat the chicken on a pole and went for the broker, flailing his arms ludicrously. He had spent all these years in the metro and hadn't learned to fight. The broker gave him a short jab to the chin with his left and immediately knocked him over. From the pallet, steeping his beard through the holes in the boards, Oleg mumbled in abject despair. My entire life, you lousy swine. My whole life, smashed to pieces? Fucking money grubber? Great know-it-all? What for? Why did you do that to me? People leaned forward in their agitation. Artyom clicked the safety catch on his automatic and took a firmer grip on it. But no one was in any hurry to intervene for the unfortunate wretch. There now, Olejek's got his too, was the whisper on all sides. And serve him fucking right. That's the end of the high life. Let him be like everyone else now. Olejek burst into tears. Over in Hansa, there's sand everywhere. They're repairing Novoslobodskaya. Let her peck at the sand. Homer tried to calm him down. That way she might even produce another one, on her internal reserves. Clever Dick! A fat lot you know about a chicken's reserves. And you go to Hansa yourself. They'll sprinkle some sand out for you. Confused, Lyoka squeezed his cut hand with his sound one. The terrifying little mouth in his palm didn't close, and it was clear to everyone that the broker needed urgently, right this very moment, to get it bathed with alcohol, because with the various sorts of garbage inhabiting this foul, shallow water, Lyoka was certain to have gangrene in a day's time. Has anyone got any moonshine? Artyom shouted to the ragged jungle. 2 rinse a cut. They giggled derisively in reply, like monkeys. Moonshine, rinse a cut. Look what it's like in here. Half the station totally pissed. You must distill some out of something, don't you? Even if only out of shit, Lyoka implored. They suck, the worms, someone sympathetic explained. The worms show them trippy movies, but there's no alcohol in them. They can't do a fucking thing! The broker flew into a wild rage. Totally useless. You go and ask the soldier boys, someone advised him. Yes, the soldier boys, someone else laughed. That's right! Artyom took Lyoka by the shoulder. Let's go to the border guards. You'll go back to Hansa. We've still got visas, and that sweater's gone away ages ago. They'll seal you up and we'll part company. Where? Olejek shrieked. Where's this you're going off to? What about me? What am I going to do? I'm not going back to them. The broker dug in his heels. Where are you going? Olejek hadn't heard. You shattered all my calculations. Right, pal. Artyom took hold of a clip to click out some consolation for Oleg, but Oleg misunderstood. Butcher! Executioner! Want to kill me? Well, fire then! He got up off his knees, grabbed the gun barrel, and jabbed it onto his stomach. There was a roar. The chicken flew a little way off, fluttering its plucked wings, and started running half-wittedly around the pallet. The people were dumbfounded and deafened. An endless echo reverberated, drifting away along the underground river. What have you done? Artyom asked Olejek. Olejek sat down. So that's it then, he replied. The jacket on Olejek's stomach was turning sodden with something that flowed down onto the polythene skirt and became clearly visible as orange blood. This was absurd. What have you done now, pal? Artyom asked him. Why did you do that? Oleg looked round to find his chicken. Who can I leave Ryaba to? He said in a sad, weak voice. Who can I leave her to? They'll eat her. Why did you do that, you idiot? You great stupid idiot! Artyom roared, infuriated by his own wretched uselessness, and Oleshek's, and everyone else's. Don't shout like that, Oleg told him. It's sickening to die. Come on, Ryabushka, come to me. Why, you bastard! Why, you idiot! Grab hold of him, grab hold of his legs quick. Let's go to Hansa! Artyom shouted to the broker, taking hold of Oleg under the arms. But with his slashed open hand, Lyoka couldn't hold anything. Then Artyom stuck his bundle in Homer's hands, loaded the radio set onto the broker, picked up Oleg, light and limp, and carried him on his back toward the pedestrian passage. That's Olejek done for then, someone said in the crowd. Now you see him, now you don't. And the egg didn't save him. Homer strode after them, and Lyoka too, gazing foolishly at the palm of his hand. The chicken, having recovered from its shell shock, started clucking and dashed along, flying from pallet to pallet after its master. And all the fans set off after it in a procession, rubbing their hands and giggling. Apart from one. The moment they moved off, a vague shadow slid down and pressed its face against the wooden boards, stuck a little hand into the filth and the broken glass, fearing nothing. On the wild gutter snipes, everything healed over of its own accord. Their wild blood would pulverize any gangrene, and death only took the pampered homebred children. He didn't want to grind down his bony teeth on the orphans. By the time they got back to the center of the hall, to the steps that ascended from the underground sea through those 8 meters to the distant heavens, the scaffolding on all sides was hung all over with Mendeleevites. The hubbub fell silent. Everybody was waiting for something. Artyom clambered out onto the shore, set his waders on the granite, and stomped forward with them, leaving dirty puddles behind him. Hey, guys, he shouted to the border guards, toiling upwards. We've got an emergency here. Got to get someone to sick bay, do you hear? The Mendeleevites, whispering among themselves, huddled up together and watched avidly. From the other side, there was no answer at all. Unbroken, deathly silence. "Guys, do you hear me?" A rivulet babbled down the steps, transfusing bad blood from recuperating Novoslobodskaya to feverish Mendeleev, and that murmuring was quite clear and distinct. Artyom moved up one more step and hissed back over his shoulder, summoning the others, who had come to a standstill right at the very beginning of the stairway to paradise. Lyoka and Homer. "I won't go!" The broker shook his head stubbornly. "Well, fuck you then." Just how does this happen, thought Artyom, that it's right there, Hansa, well-fed, washed, and clean, hair set in a neat parting, and beside it, at a depth of 8 meters down, a cave, with cave people. Communicating vessels, aren't they? Why is it possible for... They were all there. The commander had a perplexed air. He kept touching his neck, then looking at his hand. Another 2 were smoking, and somehow that reassured Artyom. They smoke. That means they're human. "Wounded man for sick bay? Gunshot wound? Happened by accident?" he panted, lugging Oleshek up to the sandbag breastwork. "It's true, just look how much sand there is," thought Artyom. "What should Oleshek have to die for?" "Novoslobodskaya station is closed. No access," he was told. "Quarantine. You were warned." Artyom moved closer as far as he could, but without releasing the roll-ups from their teeth, the soldiers jerked up their gun barrels. "Halt!" the commander said. What is he so annoyed with? Artyom looked closer. From here it was clear. The commander had managed to scratch off his pimple after all. Now the pimple was oozing blood, one little drop at a time. As soon as the commander wiped it away, it gathered again and welled up. He had to milk it once more. "We've got visas, visas. We were just here with you. Where's my Ryaba?" "Step back!" He didn't even look at either Artyom or Oleshek with his bullet wound, only at his fingers, at the little red drops. And he squinted sideways absurdly, as if he was hoping to see his own picked raw neck. "Maybe we can make a deal, just as far as the sick bay. We'll pay, I'll pay." The soldiers couldn't care less. Their baccy was keeping them calm. They waited patiently for the commander's word, to shoot or not. Oleshek didn't move them. "You dragging a savage in here, are you?" the commander asked his pimple irritably. "Ryabushka!" "Hey, look, it's that one with the egg. I recognized him from the kilt," one of the sentries finally exclaimed in delight. The chicken, caught by Homer, was fluttering its stupid, weak wings, trying to follow its master, up to heaven. "A savage? You mean a savage?" "Step back." "But he'll snuff it on the spot right now." "Has he got a visa?" The commander remembered something. He took a scrap of a paper napkin out of his pocket and plugged his wound with it. "He hasn't got a visa, I don't know." "Step back. 1, I'll count to 3. Just temporarily at least, if only to sew up the hole. 2. The commander lifted off the napkin, looked to see if a lot of blood had flowed onto it, and was left unsatisfied. "That's annoying, about the egg, I resent it. Let us in, you bastards. Listen here, Don Quixote, they're like flies in there," one of the soldiers said to Artyom. "You planning to rescue all of them? Your rescue tackle's not up to it." Another one chuckled, spitting out the dead remnant of his roll-up. "Please, come on, will you? Please." 3. Violation of the state frontier. The commander frowned. The pimple refused to be plugged. For the first time, he looked at Oleshek in order to take aim at him. A scraping sound like flint, a click. The automatics have silencers. In Hansa, they take care of the soldiers' ears. And a bullet chipped the wall and pecked at the ceiling. Dust descended like a curtain. Only his service with Miller saved him. The body's learned ability to manage without the mind, to sense with its skin where the barrel of the automatic will sting, bringing death, and to fling itself down on the ground and dodge that death, still not understanding anything with its head. He dropped, dumped the living bundle off his back, and started crawling, dragging Oleshek behind him. Another shot was fired at them, trying to hit the target, but the dust spoiled the aim. "You bastards!" Immediately, another whiplash at his voice, a spray of concrete crumbs. The monkeys behind him started whooping rapturously. "There, try a dose of what we get." "Did they sprinkle any sand for you? Thought you were a white man, eh? Come on, give it another try." Artyom could only die uselessly here. Nothing else could be done. He slid down one step lower, then another. He pulled Oleg after him. Oleg was breathing strenuously and trying not to bleed too much, but he was getting paler and paler. Listen here, pal. Don't you even think about it, right? How do we get out of this place of yours? There has to be something at Tsvetnoye Boulevard. There must be something there, eh, Granddad? There was a brothel there, Homer recalled. Right. Where there's a brothel, there can be a doctor. Well, can't there? We'll sail that way. Come on, don't go to sleep here, you bastard. I'll give you sleeping. Stay awake. But they couldn't sail to the brothel. Not Olejek and not anyone. There was nothing to sail on. The banks of the canals running along the edges of the platform were empty. Pointless. He's a goner. The broker sentenced Olejek lethargically. Wait a moment, said Artyom. Wait a moment. I want to die, Oleg confirmed. And my egg's broken. I'm sick and tired of living. You shut your lousy trap. Just find a way to row out of here. Artyom prodded the motionless broker with his gun barrel. And you, show me your belly. Right then, dirty skin. A hole in the skin, thin fluid pumping out from inside, everything smeared with filth. Homer took a look too and shrugged. Whether he would die or not, only the Almighty knew. He would die, probably. Lyoka clutched the Christ hanging around his neck like a parachute release handle, roused himself, and set off, slipping and slithering, hunching over to seek salvation, to look for a way out of this wolf pit. Whose fault was it? Artyom tried to work it out. It was the fault of the man with the egg. I didn't shoot at him. When he dies, it will be his own fault. By the way, he promised me the chicken if he kicked the bucket, a stocky woman with sagging breasts and a swollen eye said right into Artyom's ear. We had a lot in common. Go away, Olejek begged weakly. Which? Don't take a sin on your soul. You won't need the chicken there. Tell them to give me it, while you still can. Go away. Let me think about God. Leave the chicken to me and then think. Or better, give me it straight away. The chicken closed its eyes under Homer's hand. It couldn't care less any longer. How can we get out of here, Auntie? Artyom asked the woman with the black eye. Why, where would you be going, sweetie? And what for? After all, people live here too. We can keep the chicken together. Olejek here will kick the bucket. And you and me will work something out. She winked with the eye that could still wink. It wasn't me who killed him, Artyom decided. Hey, hey! Artyom heard some kind of singing. It came from a long way away, a march. Hey, over there! What? There's someone sailing along, sailing out of the tunnel. Lyoka stood staring in amazement at the Jesus that had worked. Artyom picked up Olejek, who, as he dried out, was getting lighter and lighter, and they ran slowly to the canal tracks. And something actually did appear there. A raft? A raft. A headlight shone. Oars plopped. A discordant choir clamored heartily. They were rowing from the direction of Savyolovo and moving straight towards Tsvetnoye Boulevard. Artyom hobbled out to meet them, almost tumbling into the canal along with the wounded man, to drown idiotically at the last moment. Stop! Hey! Stop! The oars stopped stroking, but Artyom still couldn't make out what was there. Who was there? Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Take us! To Tsvetnoye! We've got money! The raft crept a bit closer, bristling with gun barrels, with about 5 men on it, armed. And, now he could see this, there was room for a few more. They all gathered at the edge, Artyom with the dying man, Homer with the chicken, and Lyoka with his hand. They were inspected by turns with a broad beam of light. Don't look like freaks. We'll take you for a clip. Climb on. Glory be. Artyom didn't even finish saying it. He felt like singing. With his heart feeling as if his own brother had been pardoned, he put Olejek on the raft, unsinkable, lashed together out of thousands of plastic bottles full of emptiness, and flopped down beside him. Watch it now, don't you even try to snuff it before Tsvetnoye, he impressed on Olejek. I won't go anywhere, Oleg protested. Why bother going somewhere? No point. Don't take him away! Don't shatter a woman's heart! The woman with the black eye wailed. You'll never get him anywhere! A voice supported her from out of the jungle. Don't torment the man. Leave him here. He lived here. He'll give up the ghost here. Why, you'll chew him up before he croaks. That's insulting! There wasn't any time for haggling. It was time to get underway. The chicken! Leave the chicken! May you go blind in both eyes! Mendeleev Station sailed away into the past. Ahead lay a voyage along a drain pipe to the far end of the world, from where the beacon of life was twinkling to them. "And where are you going yourselves, guys?" the broker asked the bottle raft oarsmen. "We're sailing to the Fourth Reich," they answered him. "As volunteers."